Today we are doing something a little different. I am going to do a 3-part video on how to basically rebuild an LS engine. Everyone out there, I see so many videos, people thinking it's very difficult, it's expensive, when it really is not. I picked up this motor for $100 off Marketplace. You can basically find a non-running motor, 3rd gen, basically probably a 5.3, 4.8, doesn't really matter. You can find those on Marketplace for anywhere from $100 to around $500. Today I'm going to show you guys how to disassemble the engine, and then in another part video we're going to assemble the engine, and I'm going to show you all the parts that I ordered, the price list of everything, and just so you guys are able to do this on your own at home. So you guys don't have to pay an engine builder, and I can physically show you guys that we can rebuild this engine for cheap, with good parts, not cheap parts. We plan on assembling this together and then getting this running here on the engine stand. I should have everything to make this run on an engine stand. So we're gonna start off by getting this thing pressure washed. As you can see, this thing is very gummed up with oil, which, I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less. It's probably leaking from every spot on here. Front cover, looks like valve covers have been leaking. The valley cover was leaking. Oil pan, very common. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these valve covers off. Why am I taking the valve covers off when I'm going to pressure wash it? I'm going to show you. Impact with an 8mm. Watch it through the camera. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to loosen up all these rocker arms. So what this is going to do is this is going to close every valve, intake and exhaust. So when I pressure wash it, it's less chance of water getting into the motor. So first, I'm going to break them all loose with a ratchet, because it looks like they're actually kind of all a little loose already. So I probably don't even need to do that. Rockers, rocker trays, push rods. Once you loosen these up, you can lift right here on this tray, and it will hold them all together. Pull the push rods out. Basically what we're also gonna do is, while we're tearing this apart, we're going to see where the engine failure was. Motor still does turn over, very nicely actually. They said they think it had a lifter failure, so I expect to see a eaten up lifter and a cam lobe when we get to that point. I'm gonna set these off to the side with the rockers over here. And then I'm going to put this back on to basically seal the motor for when I pressure wash it. Just snug it. And then do the same thing to the other side. And so also what I'm doing is I'm looking at the tips of the push rods. So you can see right here, this one's got a little munched on the tip of it, and this is actually on the rocker side, not even the lifter side. The lifter side looks good, so that's just lack of oil. With all this sludge right here, what probably is happening is it was building up in some spots and not allowing it to lubricate the top of the ball and the push rod, and ate it up a little bit. That's why it's good to change your oil, guys. This is what it will turn into. It turns into sludge when it breaks down, and then everyone's wondering why they're burning oil. It's not. Some of them aren't actually burning oil, it's just sludging up on the inside of the engine. Now that we got all the rocker trays out, we know that all the valves are closed. All right, so now if you look in here, kind of hard to see, the valves are closed. So now if water does come in, it should just sit on top of the valves, unless the valve seating is not good, and then that'll kind of give us a sign there. What else I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these exhaust manifold bolts, I'm gonna take the exhaust manifold off, motor mount. We'll leave this guy on until after pressure wash because I don't want to get any water in the seal right here. From start to finish, if you get into this motor, you can have it torn down in probably about 30 minutes. It's there. Whatever you do to this side, you're going to do to this side. All right, let's get to stripping this thing so we can pressure wash it. So I didn't say this. Valve covers, 8mm. Rockers, 8mm. Socket, 8mm socket. Sorry. Exhaust manifolds are 10mm. This is all stock. If you go to like if they have replacement bolts that can go to like 13s or 12s. And then your motor mount bolts are going to be 15s. On this engine, The most common is going to be a 13 millimeter, a 15 millimeter, a 10 millimeter, and an 8 millimeter. You got a 24 for the front crank sprocket, or from the front harmonic balancer bolt, and then your connecting rods to the crank are those are 11 millimeters. But not very many tools are needed for this. Only special tool that I say you need is a harmonic balancer puller tool. Everything else, you can basically do this with a Craftsman set as long as you have a 24 millimeter. Leave your spark plug sockets in. These ones are a little loose, which is fine. Just finger tight them in there so we don't get water. Again, don't get water in the cylinders. Gonna take all this little accessory stuff off, and then we're gonna get it outside and pressure wash. 4 bolts hold the engine mounts on, kind of in a square. I'm not really worried about the mounts because it's not gonna go back in Chevy. Who knows what we'll do with this. Oh, thank you guys for 100. Actually, right now I'm at 140 subscribers, and I cannot be more stoked. Last night when I checked, I was at 100, and then this morning I woke up and I was 140. You guys are killing it. So kind of what I'm thinking is up to you guys after we get this running on an engine stand. Should I put it in a car, kind of build an LS car for you guys, or build another one, give this one away so you guys can have it, kind of show you guys what it's all about? You guys let me know. What should I do? Here's what we got. Dirty. Dirty. So it looks like the rear main was spitting on this thing for a while. If you didn't know, on the back of these things, 4.8 and 5.3 are the same. I believe it's just in the crank that is different. I will do a video on the differences between all the specs of all these engines as well. But 5.3 and the 4.8 are the same. You can use a 5.3 crank and a 6.0 to replace that. I know that because on another project that I'll show you guys later, we ran into a problem when we had to replace the crank, and 5.3 crank was the same. We're gonna get this thing wheeled outside and pressure washed. Let's see how clean she turns out, because she's an oily son of a gun, I'll tell you that. Also, it says it right here as well, under all this gunk. 4.853. On the My 6.2, it says it tucked back here. It says 6.2 liter. The 6.0s are the same. They say the same on the 3rd gens. All right, let's get to it. All right, so after one quick wash, now we're letting her soak in some step right in a damn pole. Some good old Purple Power. Oh, don't fall over, please. I don't want to spill it. Yeah, she's actually turned out to be pretty good. Look how clean the backside of that turned out. So yeah, let her soak for about 10 minutes. Give her a good old rinse. Flip her over and do the same thing again. Give you the finishing at the very end. Motor turned out pretty dang good. Obviously, I still got a bunch of little cruddy spots in there, but for 45 minutes of pressure washing and 2 soaks of some Purple Blast or Purple Power, you can't really, like, that was covered well. Cleaned up pretty good. All right, so now let's tear this thing apart. Okay, so today we're going to show you how to rebuild an LS. First, what we're going to do, we're taking the valve covers off. Speedy impact, 8 millimeter. 4 bolts holding that valve cover on each side. We already took the rocker trays off. So like I said, everything that is you do on this side, you're going to do to that side. Right here, we got 2 10s. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 10 millimeters. These are part of the head bolts that hold the head down. This is how simple it is to take the head off. So we got 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm just going to set those down here because you do not reuse head bolts. Do not do that. I take the head bolts off of the new belt. They're 15s. I'm just going to jump to it right now. When you take the driver's side off, there is a coolant temp sensor right here. Take it out. Don't even try. and you can get the socket around it. Okay, you might get lucky once, but all it takes is one little nick and that sensor's broken, and then you're out 20 bucks for a sensor. This is a brand new sensor, so we don't want to mess this one up. So we're just gonna 19 millimeter wrench, take it out, just get it out of the way. Save that sensor. 15. Again, don't use those are trash. Lift straight up. Boom, cylinder head is off. Underside of that head looks really good. I did get some water in there because this was a side that didn't have 2 spark plugs in it, which is okay. I'm really stoked to get to this camshaft to see where this failure was. Cool, that side is done. The other side. Some people like to break them loose with a breaker bar or something, and then you can take them out with that. So it works the same, I feel like. I've done it every time like this, or no problem. And I'm gonna lay down a mat because I know this is gonna leak some water on this side. I just like to take the bolts out so you don't fight them with the gasket. And just lift it. And boom. That cylinder head is off. Gonna pull this out of the way with the mat because I know that's gonna sit there and drip for a while. Now honestly, I probably should have started with this first, but I got a little too ahead of myself. I wanted to show you guys how easy it is to literally take the heads off these things. These motors are very simple, very, very simple. One thing to always keep an eye on when you do pull the heads off is the dowel pins. Make sure you do not lose those. Make sure that you want them to basically stay in the block, not the head. Doesn't matter, just make sure you keep track of where they are. There you go, right here in the bottom corners on both sides. We are going to take this plate out of the way because we don't need this in here. Since we are here, this is why I also kind of jumped to this, because I wanted to look at the lifters. Let's see what we have in here. So these are 10 millimeters as well. These are literally only to 89 inch-pounds, so they'll come up super easy. Do not need to stress that. And when you buy new lifters, they come in trays. They come with new bolts, but still do keep hold of the bolts. Alright, what do we have behind door number 1? Oh, light switch. Let me grab a magnet. So no magnet, but we got some needle nose. That's what works. Just a little wiggle up. I'm going to just toss these because we're not gonna reuse these. When you do these, do not reuse because they're plastic, so they break down, very brittle. They're really just guides. I don't recommend using them. They're cheap. Just change them. This is a budget build, but a budget build correctly that's gonna last. Not just some cheap. I'm not doing no eBay parts. We're doing legit parts. But I'm just basically showing you guys that it's not, that you can do the work yourself and make it that much cheaper. And I'll show you guys the right way how to do them. So, one thing that I do want to point out with these, this is an LS1 style lifter. They're like an 8, or they have like an H pattern on the top of them. And the newer ones are not. They're solid, totally round. So, because what would happen is these bearings fail, and then they'll grind flat. And then they eat the cam up, which I'm kind of hoping to find in here to show you guys. Nothing behind door number 1. Let's see behind door number 2. Because so far, I mean, really, realistically, you could reuse these lifters, but we're not going to because these lifters tend to fail, and we're going to do it right. And we're going to throw some LS7 lifters in there. Huh? Passenger side looks good. So passenger side is bank 2. That has cylinder 2, 4, 6, and 8. And so driver side is bank 1, 3, 5, and 7. And one way to kind of find that out is, I'm going to turn this over for you guys so you guys can kind of see it a little better. Is cylinder 1 is closer forward. So if you kind of look, it's a little offset. Cylinder one is more set forward. All right, so let's check bank one, the driver's side. Let's hope we find something in here. I mean, kind of hope I want to, so I can show you guys what's wrong with it. But I mean, it would be kind of cool if we found something, or if we got a motor for $100 that didn't need anything, which I don't think that's the case. Okay, so this motor did not have lifter failure, which in all reality we could reuse these lifters because they all are in great shape. There's no play in them, the bearing needles feel great, no wear, but we're not going to. I could to lower the budget more on this build, but I had already anticipated on putting I want to put a cam in it to show you guys that I believe every LS should have a cam in it because it's this easy. I was expecting to kind of see something there. And if you guys look in here, this is where the knock sensors are. So this is kind of one way to tell, one of the ways to tell between a 4th gen LS and a 3rd gen LS. This is a 3rd gen, so the knock sensors are in the valley. And so a valley cover looks like this, and it has holes in it. And then there's a harness that comes out. Junk, I don't like them. The harnesses, and when you do the knock sensors, you gotta change the harnesses, and they're just more of a pain in the butt. Considered on a 4th gen, the knock sensors are bolted right, I think they're bolted right here to this plate. Somewhere right here along the block, I'll have to look, but yeah, they're mounted alongside, or they're mounted on the side of the block instead of in the valley. Alright, time to work on the front of this thing. So when taking off the harmonic balancer tool, like I said, only one special tool you'll need, harmonic balancer puller tool. It's the only special tool you'll need to get this guy off. Unfortunately, there's no way of getting around it. You gotta have this tool. 24mm socket, 1/2 inch impact. These bolts are on there pretty tight. I think they're torqued over 200 foot-pounds. So you do need a decent gun. I have had air guns that have not had the balls to take these things off. So I'm sure I have Milwaukee's. Bada bing, bada boom. So what this does, I'm gonna show you guys in here. This is a claw. And what it does is it hooks, let me close it. I'm only doing this one-handed, sorry, I don't have a way in holding my stuff yet. So right there, it'll hook right there at the top. Hooks right there, but on all 3 of those spots. 1, 2, and 3. Let me get it hooked up in there and I'll show you. So I ended up actually needing the longest one in there. But as you can see, I set it on these hooks and then I just finger tight it until it pulls it tight on all 3 of those hook spots. And then you grab a wrench right here, hold it, and you ratchet it. That's gonna, obviously the whole motor's gonna spin right now. That's why you have to have a wrench right here, and it holds this in place and it pulls this out. I'll show you guys. So we can hold it on there, just ratchet. And it slowly pulls it off. Sometimes this can be a lot more of a pain in the butt. Alright. 10mm. There's 2 underneath that hold from the oil pan. Let's start with this. And this is to remove the front timing cover, obviously. So also when you are doing a camshaft swap or a head gasket in the vehicle, these are also the same steps to take. So sometimes you might have to stick a flathead back there, probably open. Very oily, dirty. And the chain slop is normal. People tend to think that the NLS chain is not supposed to have slop in it, but these motor, like obviously this motor, does not have a guide in here. I'm gonna show you. There's no guy in here. Some of them have, there's usually 2 bolt holes right in here, and there's a guide that'll help this chain, but there's no need for it. Okay, so now we gotta take the oil pan off. I'm going to do the oil pan from underneath, just so I don't, whatever's in here, I'm not dumping over onto the ground. So basically whatever I'm doing on this side that you were seeing is mirrored on this side. I am going to start by taking these pins off on this side. In the very back, there's 2 very long tins. These are not very tight. These are only torqued to 89 as well. And a lot of these bolts, guys, even if you do end up getting them mixed up, I've done these quite a few times, so I know. This is the front cover bolt. This is the oil pan bolt. They are the same. These bolts are the same a lot throughout this engine. So let's get the 5 off on this side. So the reason why there's dripping over here is because this is the oil passage. So what it does, picks up from here. This is the oil pickup tube, comes along here, and it is picked up by the oil pump. And then it is pushed through this galley hole, which comes through here, goes through the filter, and then comes back up, and then goes through all the bearings and everything. So from here, we have to undo the pickup tube. So there's a 10 right here on the oil pump. There's 2 bolts that are with the wind dish tray, and they're 13 millimeters. 13. And these are nuts for the wind dish tray, so you will be able to tell the difference on those as well. So a lot of problems that the people have when putting these together is they'll either use the wrong O-ring for this pickup, or they will pinch it. And when they put the motor together, they'll be, oh, I have no oil pressure. This is a big majority of the problem, is people either putting in the wrong one or pinching it as they put it in. So when you get a new one, so this one's kind of, I think this will be considered like a blue one. And then on the paper it'll say which size O-ring, because there's like a red and a blue one that you can compare it to. So now for the wind dish tray, which is again just 13 millimeter nuts. Wind dish tray. Back to the 10 millimeter oil pan or oil pump, 2 bolts on each side, 18 foot pounds. So not very tight. Undo those, slides right on. And again, the play in this chain, totally normal. 10 millimeters. Cam gear sprocket, 3 bolts. Again, torque 18 foot pounds. Cannot speak today. This is the retainer plate between, so this holds the camshaft in to its designated area, I will say. 10 millimeters, 18 foot pounds. So you guys will figure it out. There's a lot of common stuff on this. Very simple. You replace this every single time, because this is another thing. This is a seal, and it will leak out from these passageways. Say you have to, or you want to just replace the camshaft in your car. You can leave the heads on, believe it or not. So what you do, when I started out with the video and you loosen up all those rocker arms, you start by doing that. You take all the front accessory, all the front cover off up till this point, and you spin this camshaft. It throws the lifters up into those trays, and you can run, I want to say it's like 3/8, or it could be smaller. Don't quote me on this. Little rods through these holes, and it will hold the lifters up, and you can pull the camshaft out without the lifters falling down. And then basically what you do is you pull your camshaft out, put your new one in, pull those out, and then when you put your push rods back in, it pushes those lifters back down onto the camshaft so they don't fall down and ruin, and then you gotta pull your whole motor apart. That's a little trick for you. I don't know if that'll help any of you guys out, but I have done that multiple times because there was my very first Corvette. I did not change the lifters out on it, and I just put a camshaft in it. I did it that exact same way. All right, so one way you can do this to get the camshaft out if it's just kind of spinning there and it's kind of being a pain in the butt. Grab it, you grab one of those 10mm bolts, twist it in here, and then give it a little pull. So when you pull these out, be very gentle or you'll ruin your cam bearings. Rotate it. Just slightly with a little bit of pull, and it will literally rotate its way out. This is the same way you put it in too. You do have to obviously balance it and keep it straight. You can't just rotate it, but I don't like that. Oh. I found our problem. Okay, so this is kind of going to be hard to see, but if you look right in that hole, that is the cam bearing coming out. Don't mind my shaking, see? That is the whole cam bearing coming out. So what had happened was this motor, somebody probably has thrown some cam bearings in here and it spun it. Let's get this thing out of here though. This is gonna be kind of fun. Oh, this shall be fun. Trying to get this out of here now. All right, so what I'm gonna have to try and do is I'm gonna have to try and pull it out the back. Like a front cover, that rear cover on the back, you pull that off 10mm. There's basically this same hole, but without the retainer plate on the back. And just like I thought, I wasn't really going to be able to get that plate off, but I still am able to see the camshaft. So I took that plate off, and then you see there's the back side of the camshaft. So we're hoping I can finesse it out this way. You can see this is the crank, or the cam position sensor. And it comes down here and runs off the back. There's a tone ring on the back of the camshaft. Let's see if we can get it to come out this way at least. Which I don't think I'm gonna get lucky enough with a nut. All right. First challenge. Let's try and get the camshaft out with spun cam bearings. So at this point, obviously I have to replace cam bearings, so I'm not going to try and be very careful with it. I was wanting to put a camshaft in here, but I mean, if we don't have to, and the only thing we have to do is some cam bearings, that would be pretty sweet. I mean, really good to show you guys on how cheap it can be. Let's get this thing out of here. What I'm hoping for is that if you can see right there, that is the cam bearing, and you can see where that's kind of the mating for the circle. I'm gonna put a flathead right there and try and break that apart and separate it so it allows the cam to go through it, and then I can fish the bearing out afterwards. Let's see how this goes. Woo! Got it over that one. Voila! Honestly, this camshaft looks okay, but with this bearing spinning, probably gonna have to have it checked, because I'm sure, yeah, right there it was definitely wearing on the lobes, so looks like we're gonna have to still do a camshaft. Just barely enough to grab with a nail. So not able to use that, unfortunately. So now let's get this cam bearing out of here and check this out. Oh no. So now we found the failure. That part is done and out of the way. Now, let's get to tearing the pistons. Oh, yummy. I gotta clean up my mess. We put crank bolt back in so we have something to rotate off of. Rotates over nice. And how you check for bearing play, up and down, not side to side. All these should have a little side to side play. Nothing up and down. One thing I like to do, and especially if you're taking apart an engine and you need to put it back together with the same, they need to go back in the same cylinder. They have numbered punches, so you can just do this once, so it has a number on it. So that could be 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the numbers. But I don't have that, so I just use a single punch, and I just put 1 dot on it for cylinder 1. Just a little tap, does not need to be very much. So cylinder 1 has 1 dot on it. Come over here to 2, and we put 2 dots on it. And you go all the way back to 8. Just like that, and so now you have them all numbered. I also like to just do this because if I get back in here later on, and so like with my drift car, if I have like down season and I want to go through and just double check everything, I already have them like that. You can do it then, but it's just easier for me when I go to put it back together. I like to put the rods back in the same cylinder. We're gonna start with cylinder 1. These are the only oddball out of here. So these are the 11 millimeters. And you are gonna need to hit them with the breaker bar. Crack them with the breaker bar, and you can hit them with the rest of it at the impact. I'm just gonna go around and break them all loose first. All right, so now we're going to get the pistons out. Literally just a rubber mount. Now you can use the impact. Can't sweat this enough. Do not get these caps mixed up. These caps are only made or able to mate with its rod specifically. The way that they make these rods is they crack them, so I'll show you when they come apart. So you spin your caps off. What I like to do is I'll take this off and lay it directly underneath the same exact way I took it off, so I know exactly how to put the cap back on. Just push the rod down, grab your mallet, put it between the middle of the bearing, and just push it through the bottom of the cylinder. Might have to give it some taps. Boom. Comes right out the bottom. First thing I do is I look at the bearing. Bearings absolutely look great. Have not even gone through the coating on them. I grab that cap and put it directly back on. And so this is what I mean by they are cracked to fit. If you look closely, they're cracked to fit. So there's no other way that you would, so this rod would not be able to fit on another one because it would not have that specific crack in there. Cylinder 1, out. Tuck that over here into the box. Off to cylinder number 2. So you just do that again, all the way down the road. Cap off. Might have to give it a little smacking. Off exactly how I have it in my hand, or Sometimes what I'll do is I'll set it up here, or I'll just set it somewhere where I know where I can just grab it and then put it directly to it. So what I'm just gonna go directly to the ground again. I'm gonna grab it, set it down here. Get the piston out. Pull the piston directly out. Don't rotate it or don't spin it or anything. Grab that cap, put it directly back on there. The bearings, let's go this way. The bearings, I call them like a dowel pin or whatever, are lined up so they don't spin against each other. In these caps, there's slots that hold the bearing from spinning in the rod. All right, carry on. So this bearing slid out of here, which is fine. It just popped out. So if you see what I was talking about, those are those basically dowel guides for the bearing, and then there's a little lip for it. And that bearing just sits down in there. Obviously, we're not gonna reuse these because I wanna show you guys how easy and cheap it is to rebuild this. These bearings though, if I was doing a legit budget where I wasn't showing you guys on how cheap it is to rebuild these, I'd reuse these, no doubt. So, that is how you disassemble the pistons. And now, last but not least, we take the crank out and we have a bare block. Okay, so now to get the crank out, we have to undo the main caps. There is 15 millimeter bolts and 13 millimeter bolts. The 15 millimeters bolts have studs on them, and that is what the wind disc tray was, that you bolted the wind disc tray to. So we'll start with those, work with the 15s, and get those out of the way. Careful not to damage the tone ring on the crank. Okay, now that that is done, grab your 13. Same thing, loosen your 13. Aha, I did it again. I do this a lot of the times I take these motors apart, believe it or not. So there's bolts that go through these mains, through the sides right here. I don't know if you can see them. There's 5 of them, each one that goes through on both sides. You have to undo those. I recommend undoing those first before you undo those. Don't think it makes a difference, but I just feel like it would take a lot of stress off the bolts after it's not pulling, which I don't think it is, but just my thought. Ooh, dirty. Dirty hole. Bolts. Okay. So with these main caps, these have to go in the same exact way as they come out. They're made with this engine where they're kind of like with the rod, so you can only go in one way. But what nice thing about with the LS is they're numbered. They have numbers on the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one is basically flipped around facing in, but the number is still facing the right way. I'll show you. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's no 5. It's because it's basically flipped around and over here. Because you see that these notches are all basically facing backwards. So it's basically like a front cap, but flipped around. One way to look at it. Okay, so how I get these done is I'll stick a little pry bar in here, and you gotta wiggle it back and forth. Give her a little break free, and then can, stick a flathead in here. Pop them up. Boom, front one. So what I'll do is not to get these mixed up as well, as I'll kind of just lay them in order. Basically how I did the last one. My piece of metal. That. And then back to number 2. Give it a little rocking. Boom. And then so. This one might be a little tighter because this one is the one that has the thrush washers in it. Alright. It's a thrush bearing. This is it's all the LS is there. The thrush washer is basically part of one bearing, which is nice, so you don't have to like slide those in. See, thrush washer is kind of part of the whole bearing on that one. Yeah, see, these bearings will look great too. Again, I would reuse them, but we're gonna budget build. I know they're good. So this one, again, be careful not to hit the tone ring. Give it a wiggle. What's that? Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Ha 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 ha, don't laugh at that. There you go. And then boom. Last one. Again, laid in order. And now, my crank and cover is going to come out. Just lift straight up. Boom! That's not light. Rear cover came out. That's cool. So now we have a fully disassembled LS block. Cylinder walls look really good. So on this next video, I guess we will learn how to put in cam bearings. This one was on its way out. See how there's copper showing on that? That means it's gone through they have a coating over them. So see how that one's got silver on it? It's got a coating on it, and then you can see it's going through to the bronze look. The copper, I guess, look you want to say. And once it gets down to that, that means it's pretty much time to, when they're that bad, time to change them. I put cams in engines that look like this pretty much. And they've been fine. So I mean, you basically, people say don't look at them and you won't have a problem. But unfortunately for these ones, we have to look at them. All right guys, well that's gonna do it for today's video. Today we tore apart an LS engine, and the next one we'll go over basically on all the parts we're gonna order, on how to go reassemble it, and then reassembling it, and then after that we'll get the damn thing running. Thank you for following along. Please like and subscribe the video. Can't thank you guys enough for the support. We'll see you guys in the next one.